Hey there, everyone. Welcome. Greetings. Thanks for joining me today and receiving whatever the content is that I'm getting ready to bring. I actually know what I'm going to talk about, but thanks for being here. So I did want to make a reminder that the Elemental Alchemy 5-week journey is going to be starting next Saturday, February 1st through March 1st. The information will be in the description box below with the link and how to register. And I will also put the video, link that at the end of this video if you would like to pop over and get a bird's eye overview of some of the things that we're going to be exploring within the Elemental Alchemy adventure. So today, what I would like to talk about is an inspiration that I had from one of the Sacred Pause readings that I did last week. It was probably the last one, I think. And the themes of the card had to do with new beginnings. You decide. Alignment, and I feel like there was one more keynote to that card, but those are the main ones that are standing out to me right now. And so I wanted to expand on that a little bit because excuse me, I felt like there was a lot that wanted to be said as I was doing that sacred pause, but I also just wanted to keep it much more internally focused. So this is a follow-up to that one, and I think that the card was the return in the Rose Oracle, and I liked that as well. So I want to tie all of these keynotes together with the return. I think I'll just go with the return. The return was super resonant because as we continue on this journey, there is this deeper recognition that we are actually remembering ourselves home. So in other words, we're this human species that identifies with our humanness and with the ways things are on this planet, because this is the experience that we signed up for. If you believe that, I do. That we signed up to be here so that we could have the experiences that we're having on this planet. And these experiences, right, they give us a girth of knowledge, of learning, of understanding the full spectrum of pain and suffering and joy and elation, right? All of it is fueled by love, and that becomes really easy to forget. And I feel like in part because as humans, we think of love as this sort of one-dimensional expression, and it feels a certain way, and it means a certain thing. Like what would love do? We assume that love is going to behave in a way that our human conditioning thinks that it should, rather than a recognition that love is much bigger. It's a larger consciousness. And we could say there's, soft love and, and hard love. And what was it called? Tough love, right? So, there's soft love that's very comforting, that's very soothing, that's very nourishing, that is very tender. And that has its place and purpose. And then there's tough love, where, boundaries come from tough love. Speaking hard truths come from tough love. Saying no, recognizing that sometimes our suffering is a loving thing to need to experience, because that then is a treasure trove of empowerment, wisdom, compassion, deeper understanding, and so on and so forth. So what I love about the return is that we have chosen to find joy, and we've chosen to suffer. Humanity has historically, and I've talked about this before, in our karmic cycles, we've needed the pain and suffering in order to learn. And that has been what has prompted us and motivated to grow and to change and to evolve. And for some, that's still true, right? So there is that reality that is still in action, that we have to be stirred up in order to move to the next level of perceiving things differently. And usually that's going to start with recognizing that whatever I'm perceiving outside is actually something that is inside me. As we begin to move into the age of Aquarius, what becomes more, even more beautiful, I believe that all of this is beautiful when we can hold it in that higher octave of knowing that nothing is happenstance. Life around us and the orchestration of life is not precarious, I don't believe. My life has shown me that it's always in perfection. When I can hold it like that, I can ride the tidal waves much easier. Doesn't mean I like them. It doesn't mean they're pleasant. Doesn't mean they feel good. And yet, it gives me a deeper level of faith and trust that has been built upon experience after experience of faith and trust, of recognizing the perfection. And when I can let go into that, magic happens. So this is where the keynotes for this card comes in. As we're moving forward into the Aquarian age, right? The ascension process continues. All of this continues. The awakening. We're all awakening. We don't have to, we can write a new story. We get to create the narrative. Much easier now going on or going forward, because the frequencies and our learning curve on this planet have changed. We're pulling out of density, and we're pulling out of the karmic wheel. And the more that we pull out of the karmic wheel, we begin a new narrative. We start to write a new story. We start to recognize that we are more than just our human self. That as we go through our awakening, we are literally remembering that we are divine beings. Every one of us. Now, we used to talk about it as, we have a spark of the divine within us, or we are, I always get this wrong, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. This is what we're now starting to know, not just as a saying, not just as, I know that somewhere in there, but I don't really have the direct experience. Now, The doors are opening. The doors of perception are opening, and the doors of our heart are opening, where we are now knowing from firsthand experience that we are tapping into our divinity. And these are very different qualities. They're more idealistic qualities. As we talk about the age of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius is all about idealism. It's all about, what is the highest level that we can access and attain? And what is the highest level within ourselves that we can express those qualities? And what are those qualities? I think in the past we sort of have, we're just human. We've sort of discounted our humanity to be something that's more lowly, so to speak, than it is. In actuality, we are viewed in the cosmos, right, in the galactic communities, as being a highly evolved species and a highly powerful species. But we have fallen into so much density that we have forgotten. And we have gotten so distorted in our emotions and our thought forms and our attachment to density and physicality and the materialism, that through that we stay disconnected to the higher expressions that we are, the higher octaves that we are. So this is now the new chapter that we get to write. And we get to write it by our choice, right? So the keynotes, a new chapter. You choose. We each have the power to choose the storyline that we're telling ourselves. Now, it does not feel like that when we are in the midst of our shadow narrative. When we are held, kind of like Velcroed, right, to our fears and our survival and where we have been disempowered, and we're terrified of being, disempowered again. Even though when we live in our fear and our scarcity, that in and of itself is disempowering. When we live by thinking that we are the doers, meaning I am a doer, you are the doer, right? All of the systems that have been erected on our planet for thousands of years, right? Those systems are the doers. And, this can go on and on. None of this is the doers. But we make them the doers because we cut ourselves off from the divine. We cut ourselves off from really knowing that the true doer is life itself, and that life itself moves through us when we're in alignment, when we choose to remember that there is something and someone, so to speak, so much higher that we truly are. And what I love about this as well is that, this really kind of dovetails in some ways as I'm talking about it. I'm recognizing it. This dovetails in part of what we're going to be going through within the elemental alchemy, because we're actually talking about the elemental, the energetics of life, operating through us, operating through our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors, our beliefs. And they're either going to operate through natural, organic, divine flow of that life force, uninhibited, or it's going to operate through distortions, through kinks, through resistance. And that's where we become deeply disempowered. We're moving into higher frequencies of love. And I did a video a couple weeks ago, the first of more that are going to come, on love and on the downloads of the different expressions of love. And love is inherent with the Aquarian age. Venus is also front and center with us now, has been. And the ascended aspect of Venus is also here to teach us about love, about compassion, about beauty, about life. And as we continue to strip away the distortions, if we choose, our pain, our fears, our living from the outside in, meaning my groundedness and stability and feelings of safety are dictated from outside of me. When we're living from that way, we're always going to feel disempowered if we don't have a sense of control over different things in our external world and reality. And yet, when we live from the inside, when we ground, when we connect with our inner stability, which is part of what the alchemy journey is going to support us in. But when we start to know from inside of us, wow, I'm actually the qualities of love. Like it doesn't mean that I have to live here all the time yet. But when we see that this is the direction that we're going, wow, I actually am peace inside me. I actually am faith and trust. I actually am a fractal of the divine. That's a very different narrative. We get to start choosing and cultivating truer, higher ideals within us. We have the opportunity to pull ourselves out, right, of the mire of the denser 3D plane. And it's kind of weird. I guess I don't know what this is just coming in right now. So there's the denser 3D plane, right? And then there's that 3D plane that kind of begins to merge into the 4D, okay, the fourth dimension. Now, it almost feels like that lower fourth dimension used to have a lot more density. But what I'm starting to sense is that the 3D now is crossing over into more levity that gives us more fluidity through where we could say the astral, or where things become more energetic, right? Where our perceptions start to open. And the key to the 5D is love. It is a deep embodiment of love. And so when we're in that spaciousness of love, we kind of, our awareness, right, our consciousness kind of floats up into like that higher 4D. We go up through the 3D, and we can live. We're merging this, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I can live in the spaciousness of that higher 4th and 5th D and still be out shopping in the grocery store. Okay? So I can live. But my reality, my consciousness is expanded into higher states. And my being is spacious. And my heart is open and soft. And this is a narrative, a choice I get to make every day. And I get to align all of my choices and my frequencies to the best of my ability to keep me in that space. Now, does that mean that I'm not going to get triggered or, something is going to be coming up to clear that's going to kind of yank me back down into my pain and suffering? No. But as long as I know that that is necessary, it's purposeful, right? It's not bad or wrong. It's like, oh, okay, thanks life, thanks divine, thanks higher self. This is coming up. I got to go into this, and I can do it really quick. You can do it really quick. We can do it so quick now. And the quicker or the more that we do it effortlessly without fighting it, the quicker and easier it becomes. And we don't identify with it. We don't let it drag us down. Instead, we go in, we look, we do what we need to do, we make the shift, and we make a new choice. New choice after new choice after new choice. Because we're writing a new chapter. We're writing a whole new book from this time out. We choose. You choose the story that you want to live. And by choosing the story means that we're choosing choices that create that story, that write that story. It doesn't happen overnight, right? Because even when we're working with intention, things have to, they start, right? They start in the energetic. They start in the quantum. And then they solidify into the material plane. Some of these things take time because we have to constantly be refining. If I want to hold more love, I have to be refining and refining and refining, right? I can hold more love now as more of a norm than I could 3 or 4 years ago, because I'm always refining that which inhibits me from knowing that I'm love, that you're love, that everything around us is love, by thought forms, emotions, beliefs that come up, denser frequencies, and then I get to alchemize them, and then those frequencies of divine love drop in even more. So as we return to ourselves, We are returning our higher aspects, our most idealistic expressions that we haven't been able to access. They are our divinity. We are remembering those. I keep pointing up because that is what it feels like, even though it's inside. We're pulling those parts of ourselves back. That consciousness, those gifts, those skills, those expressions. We are returning to the wholeness that we truly are. And part of that process is saying yes to the new story. We have to believe that there's a new story, even if we don't know what it looks like, because we probably don't in the very beginning. Do I want a new story? Even that is work, even that works. And then you decide. You decide moment by moment. What are your choices? What do you want to experience now? Do you want to keep learning from pain and suffering and stay on that karmic wheel? Or do you want to learn from more joy and more peace and more expansion and living magically and more love? We can learn motivated by the positive. And I don't really want to use that word, but we can learn through goodness now. We can learn through love and patience and peace. Those can be our teachers, and we just keep spiraling upwards, inwards, higher frequencies. And then we choose. And every choice we make to say yes, to receive more of the new patterns, the new templates, it's almost like let go of hanging on and clinging to the ways that everything has been. But in order to let go, we have to identify where we're putting our power. And are we living from the outside in, or am I living from the inside out? Knowing that there is unlimited potentials, because that's what we access from the inside. We know that life has so much more in store, but we have to choose that. And we have to heal and identify and move through the fears of the unknown. We have to move through the fears of feeling disempowered, even though we already most likely feel disempowered. So what would it feel like to feel empowered, based on a deeper knowing that we are always connected to the divine? And the divine will respond to our yes. Because when we're still working from the karmic levels, we have free will. So, life isn't going to force us into love, like not in this way anyway. It's going to force us through suffering, because that's what the karma continues to create more, right? It doesn't have to do that anymore. We don't have to be in that cycle anymore. It's over. But we have to choose to say yes, to align our free will with divine will, which means we start to learn to surrender. Our free will becomes divine will, because we're saying yes to a much higher wisdom and knowing. And then we grow in faith and trust in that perfection. And then we see from that perception of an ego view because our consciousness has shifted. And we know that love is truly all there is, no matter how distorted it is showing up. So, so the invitation is, are you ready to return to your holy wholeness, to your divinity? Are you willing to begin a new chapter? Are you willing to begin to make very different decisions and choices, which will mean loss and letting go of people, places, things? You know, most of us know this. We've been doing this work. So we know that that's a part of coming into higher states of freedom. And then our choices become more harmonious and balanced and based on self-love, based on a higher truth, based on knowing that we are not alone, that we are so supported by all of our guides, you know, by our highest self, by life, by God. And then that new life begins to show up. And it begins to anchor onto this plane. So we uplift this plane. So we're walking in this plane in the grocery stores, right? Going to our job, whatever that is, in a different reality. And then we imbibe and radiate that out. So the age of Aquarius is inviting us to move into a very different reality. Are you ready? Are you ready to play in this new world? I hope so. All right, with that, I'm gonna boogie. If you've stayed till this far, then thank you so much. I hope this resonated. And give me a like and subscribe if you like the content. I would really appreciate it. I want to keep sharing. So I appreciate knowing. All right. Much love.